Heyo everybody, Zion over here from Nintendo Life, and today we're here to share with you our review of Tunic on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this review was originally written by Lowell Bell for NintendoLife.com, but was reworked into this video by me. The opening moments of Tunic fooled us into thinking we were in for a derivative Zelda-like adventure. A small fox-like character wearing a green tunic reminiscent of a certain hero wakes up on a beach. From an isometric camera angle, this fox eventually finds a sword and not long after, a blue and red shield. Surely it wouldn't be long before we discovered boomerangs and bows to solve puzzles with, yet these item-based puzzles never came to be. Instead, Tunic cleaves its own identity with a handful of brilliantly unique mechanics, and with combat pulled from that bottomless well of design that indie developers have yet to run dry, the Dark Souls well. You've seen it before. A stamina bar dictates how much you can block or dodge attacks, and when you die, and you will die, an echo of your body can be recovered to regain the gold you lost upon death. Spending this gold with the proper upgrade item in hand increases attack, health points, stamina, and so on. Your sword has a simple 3-hit combo, but the complexity of combat against enemies comes from recognizing attack patterns, making use of the invincibility frames and dodge rolls, and parrying if you're brave. Throw in a handful of magic items, and the combat never grows stale in this 15-hour adventure. You will, however, spend the vast majority of your time in Tunic exploring beautifully detailed environments to a soundtrack that won't be out of place on a lo-fi study playlist. From ancient forests to underground sci-fi ziggurats, there are a lot of little secrets to uncover. Much of the time, the isometric perspective hides secrets and shortcuts beneath bridges and behind stairs, rewarding the tenacious player that explores every nook and corner. These zones never require pushing blocks onto switches or lowering and raising water levels to advance, but rather the game requires detailed analysis of the in-game instruction manual, which is by far Tunic's most unique feature. Scattered throughout the world are lost pages of this manual. Some pages show simple controls such as rolling, blocking, and the sort, while others depict maps of certain areas and elaborate on the story. It's here within these wonderfully drawn pages that Tunic hides hints and clues on how to advance throughout the world. Only by examining these pages can you learn where to go and what to do. It's an ingenious idea made all the more engaging and mysterious by Tunic's made-up language. Now, it isn't necessary to learn or translate this language, as enough of it is already translated to get an understanding of what's going on and where to go. Yet it reinforces an undercurrent of old-school difficulty and discoverability that runs through the entire game. About 2/3 of Tunic plays out exploring and learning from the manual, to go ring this bell and then find that medallion while fighting through a cast of enemies, getting wrecked by a handful of bosses, and uncovering more secrets of the in-game mechanics. Seriously, we had no idea what was going on with the ability card system for more than half the game, and it took us an embarrassing amount of time to learn how to parry. And we don't count this as a negative though. On the contrary, we loved just how few hands the game provided us to hold. In the latter third, Tunic flips expectations both narratively and mechanically in a way that we won't spoil here. But it reinvested us in the game despite believing we had reached the end. It all accumulates with a final boss fight which somehow we refrained from snapping our Pro Controller in half over with our 24 failed attempts, but a host of accessibility options including a no-fail mode and reduced combat difficulty are there for those that find the sudden difficulty spikes of the bosses too much. Personally, overcoming these challenges left us satisfied. But we have to admit, some bosses strayed a little too much into the realm of unfairness. But how does all of this run? Tunic, after all, was developed for much more powerful hardware with 4K output at 60 FPS. Now, unfortunately, the Switch port comes with a few hiccups that make it more difficult to recommend if you have another way to play already. Namely, the lowered resolution muddies the vibrant world, giving the whole experience a fuzzy sheen in a game clearly meant to have defined edges and clear vistas. Handheld mode alleviates this somewhat, and if you haven't seen footage of the game running on another platform, and if 30 FPS doesn't bother you, these caveats might not bother you either. You will, however, notice when the game freezes for a second or two during the more hectic boss fights. This never happened to us against regular enemies, but it quite often did with the final fights of each zone. This didn't lead us to taking hits we otherwise wouldn't have, nor did it interrupt progress in any way, but it annoyed us nonetheless. Hopefully a patch or two can fix this. You'd be wrong to assume the cute, fox-like protagonist and colorful world implies Tunic is a relaxing little adventure for all ages. It's anything but. Tunic requires a lot of intuitive thinking and patience to navigate its beautiful world with its brilliant in-game instruction manual, coupled with an unforgiving combat system that punishes impatience and rewards measured study of opponents. Tunic is a game designed for those versed in old-school adventuring and experienced in difficult, sometimes frustrating swordplay. Given all of this and its evident Hylian inspirations, and even with some unfortunate performance hitches and obvious downgrades from the versions on other platforms, Tunic feels right at home on a Nintendo console, and we recommend it as a creative and concise adventure that both draws and expands upon some prestigious inspirations. We here at Nintendo Life give Tunic on the Nintendo Switch an 8 out of 10. Now, if you'd like to check out our full written review, you can find that along with more news and information on Tunic over at nintendolife.com. Be sure to let us know in the comments down below if you've played this game already on other platforms or have been hoping and dreaming it would someday come to Switch. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you go ahead and buy a nice Tunic for that subscribe button before it sets off on an epic adventure. And then ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we put up a new video. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to Lowell for spending so much time with Tunic for this review. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life, stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.